To imagine that you live in a state where government services work pretty well, everything from education to picking up the trash. And imagine that while nobody likes paying taxes, you have to admit that the taxes you do pay are about the same or even lower than in most other states. And lastly, I'd like you to imagine that whenever there's a problem with those government services, your voice is heard. And teachers and local officials work with you, not against you, to get those problems solved. If the Protect Our Jobs amendment passes, you'll still always be able to imagine a state just like that, but it won't be Michigan. That's because Protect Our Jobs, however well-intentioned, is a radical constitutional amendment that makes unions more powerful than the legislature. Unions will set public policy in secret negotiations with their employers, and lawmakers won't be able to override anything they decide. This will drive up the cost of services without making any of them any better. It'll set up a rigged game designed to benefit the select few, and it's the kind of thing that Michigan voters in the courts have already rejected repeatedly. Now, I want to emphasize three numbers. Those numbers are 49, 2%, and 3. 49 is the number of states that will stay ahead of Michigan in economic performance or surpass us if the amendment wins. Protect Our Jobs makes unionized government a constitutional mandate, but it doesn't stop there. It also explicitly, in clear language, nullifies all past and all future laws related to collective bargaining, except those that relate to strikes. Now, it's common for union contracts to contain, I think, indefensible provisions like bans on volunteers helping in schools and libraries, and bans on considering job performance for promotions and layoffs. Even in Steve's district of Dearborn, ties in seniority are broken by comparing Social Security numbers. They don't even look at Steve's performance. We can't estimate the total cost of the amendment yet, but it's clear that at least $1.4 billion of the savings the legislature produced last year would vanish immediately. Remember, we lagged 49 other states in economic performance for about a decade. This amendment would put us right back there again, most likely. Now, the next number is 2%. This amendment rigs the game in favor of the 2% of Michigan's population who happen to work in unionized government at state, local, or school levels. The amendment's only impact on the middle class is they get to pay more, so the 2% can stay shielded from the economic world of the 98%. Their pay and deluxe benefits can keep going up while pay in the private sector stagnates. The middle class will be sheared like sheep, that is, as long as they stick around to be sheared. And the amendment won't help union workers at private companies at all because their labor rules are set by federal law, not the state, and new companies won't likely want to move into Michigan if the amendment keeps us from becoming a right-to-work state. Now, the last number is 3. And 3 is the number of times in just the last decade voters or the courts rejected similar attempts by unions to rig the game in their favor. 54% of voters refused to put collective bargaining into the Constitution in 2002. 62% of voters said no to mandate automatic annual increases in school spending, most of which, this was in 2006, most of which would have gone to unionized workers. In 2010, the courts rejected the Reform Michigan Government Now amendment after we found the UAW's secret PowerPoint whose title explained the amendment's true purpose. And this is an exact quote: "Changing the rules of politics in Michigan to help Democrats." That's 3 failed attempts to rig the game already. I think even New Deal Democrats can oppose this amendment in good conscience, because it was FDR himself who said, quote, "The process of collective bargaining, as it's commonly understood, cannot be transplanted into the public service. Unionized government ensnares people who don't even work for government. One union came into Sherry Lohr's private daycare at her home, called her a government worker, and took union dues from her. Another union, the SEIU, is still skimming $30 million and counting from parents like Rob and Pat Haynes who care for their disabled adult children in their own home with Medicaid assistance. Protect our jobs and make abuses like these more likely and harder to undo. It's a radical plan that rigs the game in favor of the 2%, and it's inherently unfair. The voters may have a chance to reject this kind of thing for the 4th time come November. Thank you.